Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another review for the John Candy Marathon, and this time it's The Clown Murders from 1976. The gist of the plot, you have four guys who, for a Halloween prank, a joke, they kidnap this woman they know and take her to one place, ultimately from there to a farmhouse, but then things don't work out to plan, and there's some infighting, there's a lot of talking, and then there's also a person with a clown mask who might be trying to pick them off one by one. And despite that, this is not a slasher film. The marketing, VHS, whatever the hell you see this on, I found it on YouTube, honestly. It's shitty, it's dull, it's boring, it's very slow, and it's not a slasher film. It tries to be somewhat in the third act, but it fails. John Candy, he is one of the stars in the film. It's not one of those things where he's in it for 5 minutes. Lawrence Dane, who co-starred a lot in the early John Candy stuff. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Him and John Candy played cops, and then they returned in bigger roles and Find the Lady. I know for the John Candy Marathon I'm doing, the first round is quite a few rants, but yeah, I'm going to get to the good stuff. Stripes, Splash, which were the two films that brought John Candy into the mainstream film-wise, just he was doing SCTV. But those are good. Brewster's Millions, Summer Rental, Uncle Buck, Great Outdoors, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'll be reviewing those. But I didn't just want to review those. I wanted to take a look at his early work. It seemed like a good idea at the time, which is ironic title. Like I said in my rant of that, it was shitty, and then later on they released a DVD that was a very misleading DVD cover. If you want to know what I mean, feel free to check out that rant. And Find the Lady was just, I thought, a piss poor, lame attempt at comedy. Here is John Candy doing a little bit of dramatic work. I mean, it's more dramatic than silly or comedy. But still, John Candy's character, he's a nice guy of the group. He's not the lead. He's one of the leads, but he's not the lead. Yeah. But man, they just treat his character like he's always eating. Every scene, he's got something in his hand, like a croissant or a donut or something. And then this one guy, this asshole, Rosie. Maybe that's why he's an asshole, because he's called Rosie. He's fucking with John Candy throughout the entire film, belittling him, fucking with him, talking about all the food he's eating and cheeseburgers and all that. It's just like this, man. I feel bad for John Candy having to play this role. And he's playing a nice guy and he's a good guy, but they just do nothing with him. Now, spoiler alert, no, he doesn't die. No, he's not the killer. But at the end, he's blubbering and he's trying, and this asshole Rosie beat him up on the ground, and he's like, he can't do anything. Then he does something, but then it's this. And like pathetic, such a pathetic character that he plays. And yeah, it was interesting to see John Candy in an early role that was more of a serious role, but it was just still a very piss poor, lame writing. And it's just a very dull affair. Not much happens. There's a lot of talking. Co-stars Lawrence Dane. If you don't know who Lawrence Dane is, like I said, he was in those other films with John Candy where they both played cops. It seemed like a good idea at the time and Find the Lady. But Lawrence Dane was in this very underrated film called Rituals, aka The Creeper with Hal Holbrook, which I wish was, well, it's on DVD. It was on DVD by Code Red or something, but they got out of print, which is sucks because I would love to have a copy, but get that stuff on Blu-ray, man. Rituals is a very underrated film. How a lot better than this movie. But I mean, the clown murders, the title, John Candy is in it. Anytime you see artwork for this or cover art, I don't know if this even made DVD. It seems like a slasher film, but it's not. You have Lawrence Dane at the beginning playing polo. He's this rich guy who's married to this woman. Like I said, John Candy's the nice guy of this four group of people. You have John Candy, the nice guy. Our lead guy who's sort of come back into town. You have this asshole named Rosie. And then you have this other guy who I think he's a lawyer or wants to be a lawyer, something of that nature. And like I said, these four guys, they get together. And some of them are playing polo with Lawrence Dane. And Lawrence Dane has something to do with this farm that's going to be sold, some deal, because apartments are going to be built on the land. And in the first 10 minutes of the fucking movie, we gotta see a real fucking chicken's head get cut off by this young guy who's with the caretaker of the place, the land, the farmhouse. So you have the older farm land caretaker guy, and you have this younger guy. And the younger guy cuts this chicken's head off, and like the headless chicken is going around, and it's a real headless chicken that was just... I'm like, hey, I love chicken. I love chicken. I eat chicken a lot. Chicken's nuggets. Well, if you call that chicken. Chicken sandwiches. You don't need to kill a chicken for your stupid ass movie. And I don't need to see it. I don't call that entertaining. I don't call that scary. I don't call that creepy. I call that pathetic filmmaking. You don't need to see a real animal get killed on screen. Unless I watch a fucking documentary that I chose to watch, and maybe something I need to watch for a job in the market. Well, I gotta be there to do it. I don't need to see it. Hey, I know people die in war. Doesn't mean I want to see real footage of people dying in a war. Why you do that? How about you do a movie like Saving Private Ryan and you instead insert scenes of real people dying in the real wars? You get a fake chicken and do it if you need to do that. So, real animal killing, come on now. For you stupid, pathetic, fucking, shitty-ass movie called The Clown Murders. The director should be kicked in the balls, honestly. If I was there, I would kick him in the fucking balls. If he sees this video, I would kick you in the fucking balls. Oh, well, we ate that later. Good for you. I don't know if that was the case, but you still don't need to show the shit. And it went nowhere and did nothing for the film. It was fucking pointless. And whatever the reason for it was fucking pointless. So that the Lawrence Dane can chew out this younger guy. And what? Then make us think that maybe he's the killer? When at the end he's really not? So, fuck you, director. But anyway, yeah, the farmhouse gonna be torn down. And the lead guy, I forget his name, so I'll just call him lead guy. He used to be with Lawrence Dane's wife. And when he was with Lawrence Dane's wife, and they were at the farmhouse, and he left, and when he left, she went on, met Lawrence Dane, and then got married with him. But the lead guy still thinks about her and the times they had at the farmhouse. You know, talks with the caretaker guy, and caretaker guy says, oh, you know, it was different when you lived here. It was much nicer. And you would not have sold the place and all that stuff. You have John Candy, the lead guy, watching Lawrence Dane and such playing cards. John Candy, a few moments showing that he's a nice guy. Like he's talking with Lawrence Dane's wife. And like I said, the four guys, John Candy, Rosie, the lead guy, and the other, they're going to play this joke, this caper. It's Halloween, and we'll kidnap the wife because something about that night, Lawrence Dane wants this deal with the land finished, and only she can sign the papers. And like, hey, if we have her, he can't sign the papers, so he'll go crazy. Says he can't find her. And she needs to sign for the land deal. So, mainly it's the lead guy who came up with this because he's still in love with his ex. Even though he's the one who fucking left her, he's still in love with her, but I guess also the fuck with Lawrence Dane. And Lawrence Dane does a good job acting-wise. I would say Lawrence Dane does a good job acting-wise. John Candy, with what he's given, his acting's not the problem. It's the shitty script he's given that's the problem. Oh, it's not a shitty script. It's a shitty script when every fucking scene, it's him with some kind of fucking croissant, or some fucking donut, or something, always eating a sandwich. Oh, I get nervous when I eat. That's your reason in your fucking script writing. Oh, he's fat, so he's gotta eat in every scene. But I guess as well, this guy has to call him. This guy can still be an asshole and calling him shit. You don't need to show that John Candy's eating every fucking scene. It's just one of those oh, he's fat, so he better have a donut, and you might as well put fucking powder on his face, and hey, are you finished with that sandwich? You might as well just gone that far, too. So, it's around Halloween, people have clown costumes, John Candy's by the car, the other three guys are in clown costume, they knock Lawrence Dane out, they chloroform the girl, the woman, and they... Like I said, the asshole Rosie keeps fucking with John Candy about cheeseburgers and such. And, of course, when Lawrence Dane wakes up, he goes to the police. And he was left this card, and it was actually a Monopoly card. And they mention in the film it was a Monopoly card. I don't mind that little detail. That little detail was fun. And then but for some reason, these guys are surprised that Lawrence Dane went to the cops. And that, you know, they're at this one place and, oh my god, it's on the radio? And I guess because one of the dumbasses left a ransom note. But even if they didn't leave some ransom note as part of the joke, like this one guy did it without the other guys knowing, Lawrence Dane would still have gone to the police because these people were fucking with him in clown costumes. He got knocked out and now his woman is gone. Why wouldn't he go to the police? And of course it'd be on the fucking radio. But yet these people act like they're surprised. And that's the problem with this film, is that this is one of those movies that the only reason it keeps going is because people are too fucking stupid. It's almost like Prometheus all over again. Or before Prometheus. It's one of those films that it keeps going because so many people are just so fucking stupid. And John Candy eating once again, this time sitting on top of a car, and the guy who either I think he wants to be a lawyer, he wants to leave, and then the asshole Rosie chases him down, they have a scuffle, kids come up, because it's Halloween, trick or treat, and they play nice and give him some stuff, and then they say, let's go somewhere else, let's go to the farmhouse, so they go there. You have this scene where they have to fill up at this gas station, there's a cop car there, and then the asshole Rosie drives off and stops paying attention, is doing crazy shit, driving, and the cop comes upon them, and the guy bounces the cop off his car. The cop's okay, but do the stupid shit. Again, because people act stupid. That's why things keep going. Then as they approach, there's this light on the farmhouse, and then it shuts off, and even John Candy goes, I thought there was a light there. And they rebuff him. And this is 52 minutes into the film. This is all that's happened. And most of the time I've been talking is explaining my thought process about the fucking marathon and less about the fucking movie itself. I just saved you 52 fucking minutes of watching that bit. Because that's all that happens. And then when it's getting to the last third of the film, which is like a 90-some minute movie, it's trying to be a slasher because there's someone there and there's some POV shots and there's a clown mask someone takes and there's these speakers in the barn, and the closest this film ever came to being what could have been creepy is the speakers in the barn, music starts playing that's London Bridge is falling down, like But it leads to nowhere because what's that? And oh, we should shoot the speakers. And then it just cuts away and doesn't come back to that like till fucking 10, 15 minutes later. When the guy who wants to be a lawyer just comes out and starts shooting the speakers. That's what I mean. This film doesn't even know what it wants to be. It wants to mimic. It wants to market itself as a slasher film, but it's more like a boring, dull drama, melodrama, more like it. Once again, John Candy finds donuts, and Rosie gives him crap about it. They're talking about what to do next. Rosie thinks, well, maybe we should do something with her, and the others disagree. The lead guy talks with the woman, keeps asking her 20 questions. Do you love your husband, Lawrence Dane? Do you love him? Are does he make you happy? And you get the idea this is why he wanted to do this in the first place. And even she says, hey, let me go and I'll tell them it was a joke. So really, they could have just got in her car, dropped her off. She would have said, oh, some kids did a joke. I didn't know who they were. Forget it. And nothing would have happened. These other guys keep talking about how they're going to leave. I'm like, why don't you just leave? Just walk. Just walk away. Or say, you know what, buddy? You want to be with your ex-girl? You stay here. We'll drive off and dump these costumes and goodbye or something. I don't know. Maybe they're paranoid at what will happen. Maybe they're paranoid, not sure they believe her, but none of this is creepy or suspenseful or exciting. It's just a lot of talk and melodrama. And the lead guy asked him, "Why do you want to sell the farmhouse? How come why was it your idea?" And that's when you then get the guy shooting the speakers in the barn. And once in a while, it cuts to Lawrence Dane with this cop, and they have a few conversations. And again, Lawrence Dane doesn't do a bad job acting as a husband who's a bit worried about his wife. Again, John Candy doesn't do a bad acting job, but doesn't save the film. And then once in a while, the guy with the clown mask pops up and looks around. You have this one scene where the lead guy is in the barn after talking with the woman, and he follows this light bulb. And there's a pig head, and he keeps hearing this whispering. And then the guy in the clown mask comes up and tries to kill the lead, and then sort of chases the lead until he's trapped in this sort of electrified cage, electrified door that's rigged up. And the lead guy's trying to get people to open up for him. Rosie is being an asshole, has one of the shotguns from the house, isn't going to let the lead guy out. John Candy is in the room with the woman. And then for some reason, the woman seduces John Candy because it's inferred that John Candy might be a virgin. And again, the woman, for some reason, she seduces John Candy, and I don't really understand why. I don't get why she does that. And then it looks like John Candy's not really enjoying it. Because like she's riding him, but John Candy's like uncomfortable and making these faces here. I'm like, what is this about? And then Rosie gets pissed and finds out what John Candy did, even though he didn't. She did all the work, and beats the shit out of John Candy. And John Candy just blubbering and blubbering and won't stop blubbering, won't stop crying, and he's just nothing now. And then finally something happens where the guy in the clown mask shoots the guy wanting to be a lawyer 2 times with a shotgun from the upstairs window, and tries again the room where the woman's at, but she stabs the guy in the hand. The lead guy's, John Candy, get up, and I think the character's name is Ollie. Get up, Ollie, and go to get the shotgun, and get me out of here. And John Candy can barely move, and he's still blubbering and crying. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is shitty way of doing it. We could have had John Candy. Hey, he's the nice guy, but he's the guy who's going to save the day, and he's going to stop the killer, and he's going to, save the woman, and that would be interesting. That would be a better movie. But that's not what we did. He comes out with the shotgun. Someone's behind him. The lead guy goes, "Hey, watch out behind you." John Candy turns, shoots the guy, and it's the asshole Rosie. And then John Candy's just screaming, "I shot Rosie! I shot him! I shot him!" And then it looks like he's pointing the gun at the lead guy is going to shoot him, I guess because he's losing it. But then the woman says, "No, Ollie." And so he throws the shotgun by the door, and there's no electricity anymore, and then the lead guy walks out. And this is the next morning, the cops arrive. The woman is sort of comforting John Candy, has a blanket on him. A cop comes up to him and says, "Do you know the two people who were killed?" And John Candy nods his head. The lead guy just walks right into the cop car because he knows he's guilty of being a dumbass. And the lead woman ignores Lawrence Day and just keeps walking, I guess because she's a changed woman. And then you find out that there's the caretaker, the older caretaker. He's got a bandage on his hand, like that was stabbed, and walks all with his, I don't know, his young lover, or whoever the hell the guy is, his young buck boy, I don't know, and they walk off into the distance. And the show shots of the apartments. And, oh, is that why this guy did it? Because this place he enjoys is being sold off to those greedy land developers. So whoever the hell's here, I'm just going to kill. Because I guess it's like Intruder. I'm crazy about this store. I'm crazy about this farmland. I'm crazy about this farmhouse. My butt boy needs more chickens' heads to cut off here. I guess that's why. God, this was tough to sit through. It really was. It was. People could say my review is the same way. But you know what? That fucking movie is an hour and 35 minutes, but this is 22 minutes so far. And I don't have much to say, so it'll be 25 minutes tops. So I saved you an hour and 10 minutes. This is an hour and 35-minute movie. I'll repeat, it's dull, it's boring, it's slow, it's very talky, it's not a horror film, it's melodrama. They wrote John Candy such a shitty character, not because he's a mean guy or a nasty guy, but he's always eating because he's fat, and there's assholes picking on him because he's eating and he's fat, and he's a blubbering, trying. By the end of it, it takes too long for it to get going, and the other characters are not that interesting for me to invest in, and it's just a chore and a snore to sit through. I can understand someone watching this because he cares about John Canyon, but it's on YouTube. Feel free to flip through it, check it out for yourself, but don't say I didn't warn you. Any positives? Again, the little bit in the barn scene where it was playing London Bridge is falling down, and this one where the guy sees a light bulb and there's like a pig's head, and the guy tries to kill him. It's such an easy way to have done this is, have a bigger group of people and have this guy actually killing people one by one like a slasher movie, and have John Candy be the hero and protect the woman, and no sex involved, just because he's doing it because he's a nice guy, and he stops the killer. Not this bullshit, no, that wasn't the killer, he's the killer, and it deals with land, and was fucking guy Lex Luthor worried about land? But yeah, and again, shit that didn't make sense, what characters behaved. Like, why did the woman decide to have sex with John Candy? so that John Candy was already nice to her, and it's not like John Candy was going to fight for her, because if that's what's her intention, it did not work, because he just became he became a blubbering crybaby that couldn't do anything after that. Get revenge? Get revenge on who? The lead guy? I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. And other characters and how they behaved, what they did, and again, a lot of people doing stupid shit. And anyway, I did not like the clown murders. I mean, if I want to watch a clown in a horror film, I'll watch Stephen King's It. Both the first and the second part, because I like both parts of that movie, of that miniseries. I watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Lawrence Dane, I'll watch him in Rituals, a much better 70s that is actually a horror film. And in fact, thankfully I have a DVD-R of that. I should just watch that now. Get my mind out of this shit. But anyway, thanks for watching, take care, and fuck the clown murders.